the headlines, Kaduna doctors shun strike action. National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking says 17,000 victims rescued. Stakeholders converge in Maiduguri as 20th edition holds. And on the foreign scene, 375 Taliban terrorists killed in the past 24 hours. Welcome to Trust TV News. I'm Zainab Bala. For more news update, click the subscribe button on YouTube and follow all our social media handles. Activities at the Barrow Dikko Teaching Hospital in Kaduna are ongoing as the nationwide strike action by resident doctors enters its second day. President of the resident doctors in the hospital, Dr. Saido Bunu Muhammad, says they are in solidarity but are not joining the strike at the state level for now.
Monday, the 2nd of August, the National Association of Resident Doctors declared a nationwide indefinite strike over some demands, and of which the federal government promised to meet, but unfortunately, it's yet to be met. So, for now, we at the state level, we are not joining now. But that not meaning we are not in solidarity with them. We want to use this opportunity to appeal to the federal government to look into the demands and call the various stakeholders to table and ensure the demands are met.
He added that if their conditions are not met by the federal government, they have no option than to join the strike.
We hope that the federal government will do something. And also, we use this opportunity also to call on the state government to use this good gesture, reciprocate it, and ensure the betterment of the resident doctors in the state.
National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, has rescued over 17,000 victims of human trafficking. Director of Public Enlightenment Department of the agency, Josiah Emerole, told Trust TV's Nafysah Abdulaal that NAPTIP has secured over 550 convictions against offenders. The report.
According to the United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime, Nigeria is a major source, transit and destination country for human trafficking in Africa. There is a high rise of human trafficking cases in Nigeria, and the law enforcement agency responsible for combating this is the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP. NAPTIP has so far rescued over 17,000 victims and convicted some 550 offenders, but this is a few compared to the ones still held captive. Speaking in an interview, the Director Department of Public Enlightenment of NAPTIP, Josiah Emerole, says NAPTIP is trying hard to fight against human trafficking and convicting perpetrators of such acts.
Across the globe, any day there is one conviction of a trafficker, it is victory in the fight against human trafficking. The crime of trafficking is a clandestine one. You do not know when it is happening. It's only through intelligence and through information from various places that you will know that it has happened.
Josiah Emerole emphasizes on the need to create more awareness and that victims of such crimes should not be afraid to open up.
The most difficult is usually when you get these victims and they refuse to open up on their suspects. You begin to run around, and at times when they come, because of the fear of dying, because of the oath they have taken, that is the most reason why they don't want to open up, because they don't want to die. So you have to now begin to work extra hard to get them to open up to you.
Despite government agencies' efforts to curtail human trafficking, there is still the need to create more awareness to curb high rise of human trafficking cases in Nigeria. Nafysah Abdulaal, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami has inaugurated the 15-member Governing Council of the National Human Rights Commission. According to him, the resolution enjoins all member states to establish national human rights institutions for promoting and protection of human rights.
Officer. All these measures have been taken to ensure that the Commission is also able to advise the government properly in the fulfillment of international human rights obligations and protect and promote the human rights of Nigerians and persons living in Nigeria without fear or favor, in line with the Paris principles.
In his welcome address, Tony Ojukwu, Executive Secretary of the Commission, said the inauguration was long awaited. He also lamented inadequate funding contrary to the provisions contained in the Amendment Act.
The of government funding and operationalization of the Human Rights Fund still remains a challenge. Though there has been an increase in the budgetary allocations to the commissions recently, but the increases has been a far cry in meeting the mandate of the Commission, and even in comparison to other commissions in Africa like Kenya, Ghana, Morocco, Egypt, and South Africa.
Responding on behalf of the new Governing Council members, the chairman also emphasized the need for adequate funding while pledging their commitment.
Key things that can make this commission work and succeed is funding. I know it has been mentioned, but I think it deserves to be overemphasized, because unless there is adequate funding for the commission, it will not only not be able to carry out its functions, it will also not be able to attract the kind of quality staff that will be needed to carry out the kind of responsibility that is reposed on it.
The wife of Kebbi State Governor Aisha Bakudu has called for a holistic approach to stop attacks on school children in Nigeria. She made the call on the sidelines of activities to mark this year's International Literacy Day on Monday in Abuja.
The theme for this year is Literacy for a Human-Centered Recovery, Narrowing the Digital Divide. Bagudu, while briefing journalists at the event, said such an approach would boost sustainable literacy in the country.
The situation of the insecurity, this is something that is sad, and this is something that we need, not only the government, like I said earlier on, the whole community have to come together to help in stopping this. The government alone cannot stop this.
She noted that the attacks on school children do not just affect their parents directly or indirectly, but also hinder the growth of the nation's education system.
It's so sad when you see it on the news. This child is missing, when a parent is crying. We are all parents. If indirectly or directly is affecting us and is stopping the education system, is it that we want to stay behind the world in general? I'm not saying the north, the south, the east. When you see kidnapping, before in the north, we don't know even the value. So this is not only a zonal thing. It's the whole country.
Bagudu also observed that the COVID-19 crisis has disrupted the learning of children, young people, and adults at an unprecedented scale. She warned against people treating attacks on school children as regional issues.
If we don't join our hands together to work this thing, there is no way this thing will end. We can't say, oh, the government are not doing enough. Oh, no, the government have to pay ransom. We can't say that and keep quiet. But we need to fight this together.
The Joint Planning Board and National Council on Development Planning has begun its 20th edition meeting in Maiduguri. The theme of the event, Managing the Nigerian Economy for Sustainable Development in a Challenging Environment, aims to address the setbacks and reposition the economy. Goodwill messages from special guests described the summit as timely and called on states to intensify development of agriculture to address the looming food insecurity and harness its mineral resources.
For now, most states of the Federation cannot fully survive financially without the statutory allocation from the Federation account. So it has become a matter of strategic imperative for the state and local governments across the country to vigorously and independently pursue the idea of diversification of their local economies and also involve an effective and result-oriented tax regime in order to ensure less dependence on statutory allocation from the Federation account.
Unfortunately, humanitarian needs are increasing as funding is declining. Allow me to acknowledge the generous contributions of our donors and the government of Nigeria that has enabled us to deliver life-saving assistance and protection services for millions of people, including women, girls, and children affected by the conflict in the Northeast.
The 3 days gathering will be focusing and brainstorming on the negative impacts of the economy and overcoming the challenges posed by COVID-19, humanitarian crisis, as well as addressing insecurity problems which has affected sustainable development in Nigeria. The Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19 says Lagos, Akwa Ibom, Oyo, Rivers, Kano, Plateau State and the FCT are cases for concern as a third wave of COVID-19 pandemic rages in Nigeria. Speaking at the PSC briefing in Abuja, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation and Chairman of the PSC, Boss Mustafa, said that all countries in the West African region were beginning to see the third wave of COVID-19. He said Nigeria recorded about 500 cases daily in the last 7 days.
Vaccination prevents severe cases and reduces hospitalization and death, but does not eliminate contacting the virus. Hence, the need to religiously observe the non-pharmaceutical interventions. The Presidential Steering Committee is ready to publish over 500 travelers who violated the travel protocol and those who evaded quarantine even this week.
The SGF also called for more testing, noting that there was the need to test more and detect early enough so the people who have contacted this virus can be treated early. Meanwhile, Mustafa disclosed that the United States of America officially donated over 4 billion doses of Moderna vaccine to Nigeria.
The Presidential Steering Committee has also reviewed the travel protocols for diplomatic travelers. Today, we are privileged to have the Deputy Head of Mission and other members of the American Embassy who are graciously donating over 4 billion doses of Moderna vaccines to Nigeria. We thank the government and the people of the United States for this gift, and we promise that it will be utilized judiciously.
Elsewhere, 5 buildings and other properties have been submerged into the Koli River at Obogoro community in Yenagoa local government area of Bayelsa State, following a landslide arising from coastal erosion. Daily Trust gathered that the incident has displaced several persons as scores of residents are seen fleeing from the ravaging natural disaster. Fleeing residents are appealing to the Bayelsa State and federal government to urgently come to their rescue and tackle the menace. The Kano State Fire Service saved 107 lives and property worth 27.9 million in 32 fire incidents recorded in the state last month. Saminu Abdullah, the Public Relations Officer of the service, gave the statistics in a statement released to newsmen on Tuesday in Kano. He said that 11 lives were lost and property worth 10.5 million destroyed by fire during the period under review. Abdulaal attributed most of the fire incidents in the state to careless handling of cooking gas and the use of inferior electrical appliances. He advised residents to always handle fire with care to prevent outbreak. You're watching Trust TV News. Coming up after the break.
Get latest updates on current topical issues and breaking news by downloading the Trust TV mobile app on your Android devices. Go online, click Google Play Store, search Trust TV, install the app, and get doses of unfiltered information on happenings all over the world in your pocket. Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
My name is Samuel Dada. Yakubu Isa, ana mana kabi da jeji. Aminu Musa. Stephen Umaru. A wannan harkar ce muke dan samun abinci, an muke taimaka mu wasu da yawa. Looking for private jobs. Sometimes you get employed and the process of payment, you undergo some kind of stress.
Welcome back. This is Trust TV News Update. Now let's take a look at the stories that made headlines. National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, rescues over 17,000 victims of human trafficking. The Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19 highlights Lagos, Akwa Ibom, Oyo, Rivers, Kano, Plateau State and the FCT as cases for concern as the third wave of COVID-19 pandemic rages in Nigeria. Still ahead, residents in Ganaja in Lokoja, Kogi State are worried over losing businesses and sources of livelihood to flood, which they experience every year. The residents want the government to come to their aid before the flood submerge their houses and make roads immotorable.
For more than 3 decades, boat pilots along the confluence of River Niger and Benue in Ganaja, Lokoja, Kogi State, have been helping commuters to transport goods and services to neighboring communities. These days, they are losing their trade to lack of access roads where passengers disembark and continue with the movement.
Since we come here, have you ever seen motor cross to Shintaku now? There's no boat crossing. But in those days, they cross every 1 hour. Every now and then they cross with a vehicular ferry. But now we are there. There are no more.
In the account of this boat pilot, his major passengers are motorists who convey vehicles through his ferry to help farmers bring their agricultural produce to township. Again, his business is folding up because of the condition of their roads. Farmers will have to help themselves to navigate their way to the market.
The only thing that will bring the life of this place, except if the government can help us, this Shintaku road, Shintaku to Ayimba, if they can help us to repair this road, you will see the traffic here will be much than before.
Until something is done, the people believe there are no better ways their business can be revived. With the rainy season becoming severe, flood is another source of concern. One of the common problems associated with riverine communities like this is the issue of flooding. The people in the community says when the rain gets heavy, they have issue of flood and it takes away most of their structures around this place. And they are of the opinion that if something can be done differently to help address the situation, they will be much more happy.
We used to experience flood by August, September, October. We have already started now coming. The water has started coming. As you can see, some grasses on top of the river.
Will relevant authorities help to address these problems just before the flood takes over? It is a story for another day. Gaza Yakubu, Trust TV News, Lokoja.
Lokoja, the Kogi state capital, has many historical sites with huge potentials to tourism. Mount Patti is one example of these sites. It was also the place from which Flora Shao looked down and coined the name Nigeria. Trust TV correspondent Mardia Umar reports on the untapped tourist attractions in Lokoja and the history behind it.
Tourism is potentially the world's most sustainable revenue generation source in a competitive global economy. It creates employment opportunities and brings about development and economic growth. Mount Patti is one of the tourist attraction sites in the ancient city of Lokoja. Mount Patti, which is about 1,500 feet above sea level, is one of the finest and perhaps the most interesting tourist sites which any first-timer to Lokoja, the Kogi state capital, would like to explore. The rest house of Sir Frederick Lugard, the then Governor General of Nigeria, built in the 1900s, and one of the early communication houses in northern Nigeria, sits graciously on Mount Patti. Some of the residents speak about the activities on Mount Patti.
Came here to exercise and watch people who are playing football. I came to watch people.
Mostly when I'm in Lokoja, I come to Mount Patti every weekend if I'm around. I'm based in Abuja, but most of the time I'm in Lokoja due to my business, so I often come here. Fitness and sightseeing. Mostly hiking. After the climbing, we do some kind of yoga, sit-ups, and some mat exercise, basically.
I'm just coming from Mount Patti. I did exercise with myself, my family. As you can see me, and my daughter. And yes, just come here to have fun every Saturday.
Some residents expressed disappointment over the poor maintenance culture and the untapped tourist potential of Mount Patti.
Funny enough, 2 weekends ago, myself and my friend here were just discussing about how if we have the opportunity to innovate here, something like a canopy walk. Like there's a really good site just around here where a canopy walkway would be really nice. Then some fun activities here. Probably they can monetize it and tax it. It will be fun.
It's just unfortunate that we are here to realize how important tourism is here in Kogi State. If we want to look at what has been playing out down there in Cross River State, I beg your pardon, Ogudu Cattle Ranch, Tinapa, and many more, come to understand that what they are having there compared to what we're having here is not different. It still boils down to how, as a government, we're going to be able to at least see reasons why we're going to take tourism to be very, very important. And that is why I'll keep saying this. If you want to have the youth go off the streets, there are various ways of doing that. One, you can do that through empowerment, through sports and tourism.
Despite being one of the most tourist sites in the ancient city of Lokoja, Mount Patti is not being well kept, and the residents only wish that if well harnessed, it could bring about development in Kogi State.
Mardia Umar, Trust TV News, Lokoja.
And in business, the Board of Governors of the International Monetary Fund has approved a general allocation of special drawing rights equivalent to $650 billion to boost global liquidity. In a statement issued on Tuesday in Washington, D.C., the board gave the approval on Monday. It also said that the general allocation of SDRS will become effective on August 23rd. It added that the newly created SDRS will be credited to IMF member countries in proportion to their existing quotas in the fund. Citing the abuse of the foreign exchange market by bureau de change operators, local manufacturers have expressed optimism that a decision by the Central Bank of Nigeria to discontinue the weekly sale of the US dollars to BDC operators would help to stem rising input costs. According to them, the dominance of the BDC market has unpleasant implications for the manufacturing sector, as manufacturers source foreign exchange at the bureau de change window at exorbitant cost, notwithstanding the consequent implication on cost of production and competitiveness of the sector. The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria further argued that a major challenge with forex allocation to the BDC segment is that the operators always lacked the ability and the will to continuously adhere to the set rules. And on the foreign scene, at least 375 Taliban terrorists were killed and 193 more injured during the clashes with Afghan security forces, Kama Press cited a statement from Afghanistan Defense Ministry on Tuesday. The ministry in its statement said the operations were conducted in different provinces of Afghanistan, which inflicted heavy casualties to the Taliban. A large swath has also been recaptured as a result of the operations. China has stepped up efforts to contain a new cluster of COVID-19 infections, with 328 new locally transmitted confirmed cases registered in July. The outbreak stems mainly from a flight that departed from Russia and landed in Nanjing, capital of East China's Jiangsu province. Viral genome sequencing has found that all strains in the recent resurgence were the highly infectious Delta variant, which can contribute to a faster and wider transmission among a large population, according to He Zhonghua, an official with China's National Health Commission. And in sports, administration is one of the challenges bedeviling Nigeria's sports industry. This is according to a sports analyst, Wale Mustafa. He divulged this in a virtual interview with Trust TV, highlighting Nigeria's performance in the 2020 Olympics.
Well, looking at Nigerian players at Tokyo Olympics 2020, I think so far so good. It's been bad for us. Looking at the way we prepare for it and in our usual tradition of preparing for tournaments like this, it's somehow holistic. But then I think we've not done badly. There are some bad results. There's some also coming out of it. Some young athletes are coming out, showing something and giving us hope that we have a future when it comes to sports. But I think the lacuna has always been administrative. It's always been our major setback. Not preparing for events earlier, and of course putting things in place by making athletes to prepare for competition like this. But then I think we should be able to pick some positive from what we have learned so far in Tokyo, and of course when we come back to put that together and of course address it and forge ahead to do better when it comes to preparing international Olympics, Commonwealth. Also, looking at how we unfortunately miss out in the 100-meter hurdle. It's very unfortunate because that was where we have hope of getting medals. But I still believe that we can still make amends. The likes of Divine Oduduru is making us proud in the 200 meters. He's qualified for the semi-final now, and of course I believe with his form, with way he's prepared for this tournament, not minding the fact that there's some kind of distraction on the part of athletics as regards some of their members, but I still believe that some of them should be able to come out better. Divine when it comes to 200, unfortunately, the 100 meters hurdles, and of course, being disqualified, was disqualified in the 100 meters. So I'm confident that in the semi-final now, making it to the semi-final, I think it's able to go to the final. I think for coaches, they've done their job quite all right, but we still have issues and challenges when it comes to administration, not only for all sectors, and I think we believe that they are addressed as soon as possible.
Well, that's it on News Update. Do follow us on all our social media platforms. I'm Zainab Bala. Thank you so much for watching.